video is going to be about cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy is a very tough disability. Cerebral palsy is a disability that affects your mind, your heart, your soul. You have daily struggles every day. The world moves much slower for a person with cerebral palsy than an average human being that's walking. What happens is when the brain becomes affected and different parts of your brain become affected, what happens is your motor skills slow down. What I want to show you now is my hands. Now, if you can look at them, you know, they are not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. They cannot open and close properly. And if you look at the speech pattern in which I talk, it's not a pattern with free flowing words. I run short of breath and my words still come out a bit slower than your average human being, but at least I could get my point across if I don't get too excited. Common tendency for a person with cerebral palsy is for our emotions to get the better of us, and it becomes harder for us to talk. Now, you know, this is just stuff we face. And it's nice to see other people on YouTube telling their same cerebral palsy story, 'cause we each have one. Some can express themselves through words, some can express themselves through art, and some could just express themselves through laughter. It's all dependent upon who you are as a person. Now, what I want to focus on now is how does one who is not infected with cerebral palsy treat someone who is normally? Well, life is a person to person basis. We have to get to know people on a person to person basis. We can't just say, oh, that's Brandon, he has cerebral palsy. Instead, we should just say that's Brandon. But you see, mentally within our mind, we get it all mixed up and we say, oh, that's Brandon, he has cerebral palsy. So now the label of a person having cerebral palsy is already put into effect. And the question is, how do we stop that? We don't. It's part of life. You can't retrain the brain to learn something that it already knows. All we could do is get better than we were the day before. And it comes through activism and speaking out and letting people hear your voice. When I was in school, I never let anybody know who I really was. I never talked that much. I never spoke out because I just figured, hey, I just live in my own little circle. If they want to understand me, they will. But now, as I'm older, I realize that you have to tell people because if you don't, you're just gonna create the same mistakes that's already been created. And cerebral palsy is not a, simple thing to deal with. It's very complicated. You got your motor skills, your speech pattern, your brain, your intellectual ability, your comprehension ability, your memory, and if one already has plaque within the brain, the brain is already slower from the get-go. And so it's very complicated to say, oh, he has cerebral palsy, he's normal. No, he's not normal by any stretch of the imagination, but he is who he is. And a lot of times I see people want to call someone with a disability normal. Like, if we call them normal, it's gonna make it all okay. Does that change the fact that they're disabled? No. Does that make it any better for them or you? No. But if we accept them as a person, created on this earth to love and care about, then that's all they ever will be. Now, if we see them as a person who is less than us, which people do a lot, then that's all there ever will be too. You know, and like I said, it's very complicated. And I don't fault people for feeling the way they feel. We just gotta learn and progress as a humanity to get better. Yep. I mean, these are things that have been going on for generations. Not many people could say, hey, I saw a boy today, he was a quadriplegic with cerebral palsy. Not everybody could say that. Not everybody could say, hey, I knew a person with cerebral palsy my whole life. No. Most people, generally, what they could say is, oh, I heard of a person with cerebral palsy. Or I heard he had cerebral palsy. And most time they have a totally different disability than what you think they have. Yep. So, there's a little more about cerebral palsy. And since I like to sing, I don't want to end this video without singing. So here we go. Who am I but a man different than you? Who am I but a man that can't do like you do? Who am I but a man that can say I love you just as easy as you can? 'Cause it's true. So you can hug me and I can hug you and we can embrace each other and the beauty of love, and we won't run away. No, 'cause we're tired of the dark, dark days that we won't love. Oh, we want love to remain, to remain, to remain with equality. Amen. There you go. Hope it didn't take too long.